Hi again, everybody. This is the Catholic Esquire. I'm so sorry for having to come back to you again today for a third time to talk again about this document issued by the Vatican earlier this week that authorized blessings of same-sex couples. You know, it's clear and obvious to me after reading and watching Catholic media, commentators, even priests and bishops talk about this, that there is some still massive confusion over what this document is doing. And it's my goal to try to help get through some of the fog here so you not only understand what the document is doing, but what the Vatican is really trying to accomplish. Again, everybody has looks at this document and reaches different conclusions. Now, what I'm here to tell you is the document itself, contrary to what some people believe, it's not ambiguous. It's very actually quite clear what it's doing, what it's trying to accomplish, and the parameters of it. There's different groups of people who look at these things. There's one group of people who look at that document and say, "Oh, this is wonderful. It blesses same-sex couples. Let's start lining them up so I can bless them." That's the James Martin folks. Then the other group of people that say, "Oh, this document is quite clear. It's so good. It's so orthodox. It's completely Catholic. There's nothing absolutely wrong with this whatsoever. You're just an idiot because you don't understand the difference between blessing couples and blessing the union of the couple that comes to you at the exact same time for a blessing, because it's a distinction." That's the YouTuber crowd who love to focus on distinctions and nuances. My second video dealt with that ridiculous argument already and how to properly use distinctions. The third group of people are those who are conservative generally and say, this document is another example of Francis being ambiguous. This is so ambiguous. Different people can read it different way, and therefore that's why it's a bad document. It's not ambiguous, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. And finally, there's people like me that look at the document and say, yeah, the document actually is not ambiguous. It's clear what it says. It teaches heresy, and it's intended to tended to lead people, or at least justify people's sin in their lives. And it has nothing to do with the sacrament of marriage. In fact, they don't want it to have anything to do with sacrament of marriage. And that was the focus of my first video on this a few days ago. So I'm going to try to bring this all together for you to help you understand. Unfortunately, I am going to have to go through some parts of that document with you just to show you. But don't worry, I'm not going to do like some people do and read every single word in the document. I assume you can read. What we're trying to do here is comprehend it. Reading comprehension is actually a different skill than reading. So a lot of these people on YouTube that like to break apart sentences and, pick things apart and all that, they can read, but they don't have reading comprehension. That's what I'm hoping to get past today. Okay, we're looking now at the document itself. And again, I'm not going to read every single line to you. I'm assuming you can do that. What I just want you to keep in mind here is the background and the context of how they are explaining when it's proper to give blessings to same-sex couples. I am not going to deny that they said that you should not do it in the context of marriage or in a official or liturgical rite that looks like marriage. That's clear. I agree with that. But all of the statements that these people point to that are orthodox are in connection with a marriage or liturgical rite. And I'll explain why that's important, but let me just show you real quickly. The first thing to focus on here in the introduction to this introduction under the presentation section is the fact that what they're going to tell us in this document is new. It's brand new. It's something that's different than the way the church has taught before. We know this because they tell it to us. It says the value of the document, however, is that it offers a specific and innovative contribution to the pastoral meaning of blessings, permitting a broadening and enrichment of the classical understanding of blessings, which is closely linked to a liturgical perspective. And such theological reflection, based on the pastoral vision of Pope Francis, implies a real development from what has been said about blessings in the magisterium and the official text of the church. So they're saying what we're doing here is going to be new. It's a real development. It's a broadening or innovative contribution to the classical understanding of the blessings. That's tradition, my friends. That's what they're saying. What they're going to teach in this document is new and has not been taught before. That's probably why they're issuing the document, right? So we want to think about, why are people issuing documents? Well, they're telling us they want to introduce something new. So with that in mind, let's scroll down, and then they talk about blessings in the sacrament of marriage. That's the section of the heading here under section 1. Now, paragraph 5 has been talked about by many as some sort of orthodox statement. Well, it is orthodox statement. It says here, for this reason, when it comes to blessings, the church has the right and duty to avoid any rite that may contradict this conviction or lead to confusion. Such is also the meaning of the responsum of the Congregation of the Doctrine of Faith, which states that the church does not have the right to have the power to impart blessings on unions of the persons of the same sex. That is correct. But what context are they talking about here? They're talking about marriage. This is the blessing in the sacrament of marriage. Paragraph 5, this is also the understanding of marriage that is offered by the gospel. And they're going to keep talking about how you should not impart these blessings in the context of liturgy or a liturgical function. We get that, okay? It's very clear that they're saying you can't do this in marriage or something that looks like marriage. Fine. Look at paragraph 9. From a strictly liturgical point of view, a blessing requires that what is blessed be conformed to God's will as expressed in the teachings of the church. Great. But what about non-liturgical points of view? What about outside the rite of marriage? What about that? Paragraph 11, scrolling down a little bit more. For this reason, since the church has always considered only those sexual relations that are lived out within marriage to be morally illicit, the church does not have the power to confer its liturgical blessing when that would somehow offer a form of moral legitimacy to a union that presumes to be marriage or to an extramarital sexual practice. Again, what's the context where they seem to sound orthodox? It's in the context of marriage and the marital rite. All right? So after using all this orthodoxy in the context of marriage, liturgical rites, we know you can't do that. What's the point of this document? Well, that's where section 3 comes in. Blessings of couples in irregular situations. That's heterosexuals who are cohabitating or people who are on their second or third spouses. Hello, Amoris Laetitia. And couples of the same sex. That's what's new. Section 3 is where the new stuff comes in. And you read the first sentence in section 31. Within the horizon outlined here appears the possibility of blessings for couples in irregular situations and for couples of the same sex, the form of which should not be fixed ritually by ecclesiastical authorities to avoid producing confusion and blessing proper to the sacrament of marriage. That is clear as day. They're saying within the horizon outlined here, that's marriage. So despite the fact that you cannot do this in the context of the rite of marriage or something that looks like the rite of marriage, there is a possibility of blessings for couples. That's in irregular situations and of the same sex. That's what's new. That's the point of the document. All right? And they say, yes, you do it so you don't confuse this blessing with the rite of marriage or the sacrament of marriage. Correct. We concede that. The problem is not that. The problem is with the new thing, the innovation. That's the blessing for couples in irregular situations and for couples of the same sex. That's the heresy. That's the problem. That's why this document is causing such chaos and such anger and insanity. It's because of that. And that is the point of the document, and that's what it says. So let me try to just pull this all together for you to help you understand, I think, where the reading comprehension and confusion is coming in. This document is not ambiguous. Ambiguous means that it's possible for two reasonable understandings of the same document could be reached. That's not true in this case. There isn't two possible understandings. It's clear enough. It says priests may or should bless same-sex couples when they are asked to do so, but it may not be done in the context of the rite of marriage or in something that looks like a liturgical rite or something that has anything similar to an official service connected with the church in order to avoid confusion. But at the same time, the newness of the document is, and something that has never done before, and is heretical and is scandalous, is that it approves the blessings of couples of the same sex, or perhaps heterosexual cohabitating or adulterers, that present to them to bless them at the same time as couples. That's a heresy. That's the problem. That's the new innovation here. And that's what's wrong. So it's not ambiguous, and it's not orthodox in any way, shape, or form, because it does say a lot of orthodox things in there, but those orthodox statements are all in the context of marriage rite, liturgical rites, or something similar to them. That's a red herring. That was intentionally put in there, designed to trick people who don't have good reading comprehension skills. It's marriage? No. Outside of marriage? Yes. Now you may be thinking to yourself, well, why are they doing it that way? I explained that in my first video. The modernists want to destroy the sacraments. They want to render the sacraments pointless and useless. If they started changing the sacrament to allow for this within the context of the sacrament, it only just makes it the sacrament itself more important. They're fine with all of this same-sex stuff outside of marriage. They're fine with it because they know that the world doesn't care about sacraments. The world doesn't care about graces or any of that stuff. This is an effort to comply with the Protestant ethic, the secular atheist globalist ethic, which doesn't even recognize marriage as anything of importance. It's an attempt to destroy the sacraments in the church. So yes, it makes total sense that they authorize blessings outside of liturgical rites and marriage. If you haven't done so, please go back and watch my first video on this a couple days ago, and then my second video where I explain why this use of distinctions to distinguish between couples and persons of the couples getting blessed at the exact same time is so silly and not persuasive. Thank you all for listening. I hope this helps. God bless and Merry Christmas.